Hey everyone. Today I'm going to Marina Del Rey from Catalina, which is 40 miles northeast. Um, it's going to be big winds, which is going to be super fun on this boat. I've got the exact right sail set for the weather that we're heading into, as long as the weather stays consistent. My backup plan, if I can't, for some reason, the wind is crazy or something goes wrong, I'm just going to cut for Long Beach, which is a due west, a beam reach, and I can get there in, no matter what. So Marina Del Rey, it's not a stretch goal. I think I'm going to make it, but worst case scenario, I might wind up in Long Beach. And this is kind of how you plan when you're sailing, because to a certain degree, you have to go where the wind blows. You have a range of about 270 degrees, no, less than that. 260, 70 degrees of freedom, but you have a good 110 degrees that you don't really have a choice about. That if the wind's blowing that way and that's the way you want to go, you gotta either spend all day tacking or you got to figure out something else. And it's not that tacking is difficult or hard, especially with a self-tacking jib. It's just that it takes a long time to get places, and you want to get there. If you're pulling into a slip like I am today, you need to get there when the slip is open, when the people who control it, in this case a public park, are actually there. Although there's a lot of flexibility there. You can just pull in, tie up, and deal with it in the morning type of thing. But we'll see. If anything, if it gets beyond what I feel like doing, I will go to Long Beach. That's what I'm saying. But Marina Del Rey. So the first step in getting underway is securing for sea, and that means putting everything away. And as I'm filming, I realize I have not put the dishes away yet. But as you can see, everything is basically in its place, except my jacket that I'm going to put on, and my videographer, Cup, who's going to come with me topside. But yeah, I'm going to put the dishes away now. And then everything else is where it belongs. So when the ship rolls like heavily sideways, this way, that way, that things aren't sliding around and that they are going to stay in place. I got to put my log where it goes, but otherwise everything else is put away. Dishes are cleaned up. The food is all stuck in its wedged in places. And the few things that are sitting around, these torpedoes are my brother Dwayne's favorite beer. I'm going to pour one out for him. He died a few years ago. He wanted to really come on this trip, and unfortunately he passed away from natural causes before that could happen. So I'm going to pour him a libation of that. But all the things you see sitting around are just going to come up with me on deck. All right, just to give you a sense of where we are, that in the distance is Avalon. You can see there's a cruise ship parked offshore. Can't really see the town, it's behind that hill there. And I am at White's Landing, which is this beautiful little anchorage cove that I'll mark it on a map and do a screenshot on my Facebook. But, I'm one of two boats here. I'm the only boat that's been here for a couple days. Not a couple days, like 2 days. I guess that's a couple days. But this is where I'm at right now. Very protected little harbor. There's lots of good wind coming out of the north. Not really feeling it right now because we're in the wind shadow of these mountains. But when I come off anchor here in a minute, the boat's really gonna start moving. It's gonna be quite a bit of fun. So what's going to happen, I'm going to start pulling up the anchor with this control. There's a point at which the boat's going to let go of the floor and start drifting, and I might have to suddenly go start maneuvering, but I'm hoping to get the rode all the way up. We are in about 1 knot of current, but it's taking me due south, so as long as it's not heading for shore, I'm going to stay here and get the anchor all the way up rather than going back to control the motor. So I'm just watching around me and making sure nothing goes wrong with the Gypsy, which it already did. Here's where the rode attaches to the chain. Make sure this goes through the Gypsy. And it didn't. Alright, I gotta put this down. All right, we're off the anchor. We're headed into our direction. So the engine has to run to get the anchor up. Generally with this boat, you're always on the motor, getting into and out of a mooring, an anchorage, or a slip, no matter what. It is technically possible to sail on and off of those things, but it's not controllable, and you would only do it in an emergency. I have slipped this boat in under sail in an emergency. It's going to scratch gel coat. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, and so you just don't do it unless you're practicing. I practiced slipping my boats under sail when they were smaller, but a boat this size, there's just no second chance, and there's no room for error, so you use the motor. All right, I've got the auto helm on, headed vaguely in the direction of California, which is that mountain in the distance. It's only about 22 miles away from here, but we're going further north than that, so we're going to go 40 miles today to Marina Del Rey, and now it's time to get the sails out. So I'm going to open up the control. These are clutches. They hold these ropes tight. They're loose on this side, they're tight on that side. They're held in place, and it allows me to use the same two winches to control all the different lines. I just wrap them and unwrap them as needed and keep them clutched to hold them in place. So what we're going to do is bring the main out. That's main in, main out, main sheet. All need to be unclutched for that. We're going to put the main sheet on this winch, and we're going to put the main out on this one and pull out the main sheet. All right, so I've got all the different sheets separately flaked out and ready to free run. What we do is just put the one we need to control on the winch. In this case, that's going to be main out. That's main in. Red is main out. So these are two opposing rollers inside the main. As I pull in main out, main in will feed in. So this one I put on the winch, and the other one I make sure that it feeds correctly through the clutch as it's going up. Just going to wrap that on through the clutch, keeping my fingers out of the way, and I got to make sure this guy can run free as it's going in and stays away from everything else. Now there are winch handles that pop onto here, and you can manually run them. I am preserving my shoulders for emergencies, and so I use electric winches. And you can see the main sail is coming out of the slot in the mast and down the boom as we go. The sheets will always curl like that. Just that little curl will stop this sail from coming out. So that's what you have to prevent. And then as I continue to haul on this sheet, and it comes out of the clutch, and I put it back, the sail tightens up. And there we go. That sail is ready to sail. And now for the forward sails, called the jib. We're going to pull that out. It's the same thing. This is the furling line that has to feed through, and we will use the jib sheet on this winch to pull it out. Let me lock these two guys, boom, and this guy, and then we will unlock jib sheet and furler and pull out the jib sheet. And here comes the jib sheet. boat is leaning over because she wants to sail, so we're going to let her. That's the main sheet, pulling it in. We're now on a decent heel. We are sailing, and so it's time to unwrap all the sheets from the throttle, which happens every time because where the throttle is located. Put this in neutral. We're no longer on motor power. We're going to put it in reverse a little bit. That's going to put back pressure on the prop so that when I stop the engine, the prop will fold. The blades literally fold backwards because the boat's not pushing against them instead of it pulling the boat, and it gets out of the way. It stops that big prop from slowing the boat down. And now that the engine's off, we can put it back in neutral, and we are sailing. Now I'm just going to set my course for Marina Del Rey and trim the sails for that course. Alright, so I've come up to the upper side. You can see we're sailing really well here. We're doing about 6 knots. My main sheet could be a little better trimmed. I'm okay with spilling some speed though because we have more wind than we need, and I don't have to have that in perfect trim. I think I would have to go up there and tighten that leech cord in order to stop that pumping, but I'm not super worried about it. It's minor. The way I'm sailing is that weather vane at the top. There's a weather vane that's pointing. Let's see if you can see it. There you go. And it's got 2 tail vanes, one of which it's right on. And those 2 vanes tell me how close to the wind I am. They're the limit that the boat can sail. The arc between those 2 vanes, the boat, if the tail of that pointer is in it, the boat can't sail. So I'm very close to the limit, and that's actually the fastest the boat can go. That's called a Windex, and it's telling me how I am compared to the wind. The other indicators I have are called telltales. They are these little pieces of yarn on the sail. And when they're streaming straight back on both sides, the red one's on this side and the green one's on the other side, so I'm seeing through the sail. And it's telling me that I've got good aerodynamic flow. They're a little bit fluttery, which says that I've got a little bit of laminar detachment, but again, I've got these sails need to be replaced. Honestly, they're going to get replaced before the big trip. They're now 7 years old. They've seen their last sailing season, so they're a little stretchy. But bottom line is, those telltales are telling me that I've got good aerodynamic flow and I'm doing what the boat can do with these sails. So all is good. I'm heading as far upwind as I can. And I'm just I know the wind is going to curve as I get across the channel. Closer to LA, I'll be heading further and further north. So we're just going to let the wind do what it does. And when I get close to shore, I might tap. But we'll see. And we'll get to Marina Del Rey that way. All right, and here we are headed to Marina Del Rey. This is kind of the situation. The autopilot is keeping the boat on a specific angle to the wind rather than a specific course. What that means is that as far as the boat is concerned, the wind is always the same, which means I don't have to constantly manage the sails. It also means I'm going where the wind blows me, not to some specific place. I will sort out the end of the trip when I get to the end of the trip. The wind is going to take me basically where I want to go. Now, I'm sitting here relaxing. I'm obviously not actively sailing. What this is freeing me up to do is maintain a vigilant watch, right? I'm a one person. I'm a solo sailor. I cannot do all active roles at the same time. I kind of have to switch between them. Getting the sails out is a very active thing. Getting the anchor up is a very active thing. If I was on the helm, I could maintain a proper watch, proper lookout as well. But if I'm busy trimming sails all the time and I'm busy managing the boat, then I'm not keeping the best watch. And so, the best thing to do is for me to automate what I can automate. What I can automate here is keeping a consistent angle to the wind and using the autopilot to do it. It's worth like 2 crew members, that and the self-tacking jib, so that I can be mentally aware and alert and watching everything that's going on and jumping in wherever necessary. So it lets you be kind of the skipper rather than each one of the different crewmen. And and it's really cool. The even cooler part about it is that I can sail the boat completely dark. If something were to go wrong, electricity fails or whatever, all of these electric systems have manual operation. Those winches, I can crank those manually. The helm, obviously, I can steer manually. The self-tacking jib doesn't have to be trimmed. I can trim it if I want to. The bottom line is there's nothing about this boat that requires electricity. It just makes it all easier. So anyway, this is what I'm actually doing on the way to Marina Del Rey. I'm approaching the coast of California, and especially this area called Point Vincent, which is north of Long Beach. I'm going to try and get around the sail here, but it's this little tongue of land that comes out. The way that the wind is bringing me, as we can see up here, see by the Windex, that I'm on the wind as close as I can get to it, but I'm not going to get all the way around Point Vincent over here. I think I'm going to run into the land if I didn't turn. And so what I'm going to do is turn the boat this way by 90 degrees. It's actually 110 degrees, but we'll say 90. And all the sails are going to swing around to the other side, and I'm going to head out that direction towards Japan until I'm around Point Vincent, and then I'm going to turn back. That's tacking. Because I can't just go over here, if I did that, my Windex would be in the no-go zone between those two tails, and I would be facing directly into the wind, and I can't sail directly into the wind. This is as far off the wind. Those tails show how far off the wind I have to be in order to make headway. So that zigzag maneuver is how you sail into the wind. Now I'm doing it in one big tack. That's going to come up in probably 2 or 3 hours, and I'll film it when it happens. But that's how you sail to exactly where you want to sail. The less tacking you can do, the more efficient, the less time it's going to take you to get to a place, and the shorter your off the direction tacks are, the generally better off you're going to be. But that's kind of all there is to the art of sailing, is learning how to tack, its associated maneuver jibe, which is when you're doing it downwind, and getting the correct sails out. It's not as hard as it seems. You can learn the fundamentals of sailing in a day. It is going to take you the rest of your life to get good at it. It's kind of like chess in that respect. There's just more and more layers to it that never end. But the fundamentals of sailing are actually pretty simple. All right, I came off anchor about 3 hours ago in Catalina. By the way, you can see my lake going back. That's Catalina. This is Pacific Palisades right here. You can see the fire damage from the Palisades fire still, those scorched areas. A devastating fire that this is the place that happened to. So, to my knowledge, the first time a wildfire has reached the sea, not good news. Anyway, I thought I was going to have to tack. I might still, but it looks like the wind has curved enough that I can get around Point Vincent without tacking, which means that's what I'm going to do. I've just been on a consistent 40 degrees apparent to the wind, and the boat has been rocking and rolling. We do have a knot and a half of current pushing me towards the land, and so I still might miss. I still might have to tack. We'll find out. But the boat's been doing just fantastic. The wind regime is 12 knots, which is, that's the true wind. The apparent wind is that wind plus the boat's speed, so the wind feels like it's faster than that for me. It's just a perfect wind for the sail suit that I have up with the self-tacking jib and this roller furling main. This trip couldn't have gone any better. It's just been ideal for these conditions. One of the interesting things about this boat, it has a very wide beam, 16 feet wide, but you don't really pay for it. Once you're in the water, let's see if I can get a shot of it. You can see that the wake is only coming off the low side. The high side of the boat there is not in the water. It's completely out of the water, which means there's no friction with the water. The boat actually gets faster as it's speeding up because the half of the boat that's towards the wind comes up and out of the water, and it produces additional ballast to hold the boat down against the wind, and just creates this situation where everything gets faster in kind of a virtuous cycle. It's super cool. You get all this width of the boat, and you don't have to pay for it when you're underway. Anyway, my seat has fallen off because the boat's about 30 degrees angled to the water. Pretty much its ideal angle, maybe a little over. If it gets too much more than this, then I will do what's called reefing, which is reducing the sail by rolling some of it back up on the furler or back into the mast. The less sail I have, the less wind energy is going to be converted to speed, and so that will slow me down, and it'll keep the boat from, the boat's not going to tip over, but it'll keep the boat from being at an uncomfortably large angle and an inefficient angle, and an angle where I can't really maneuver the way I would want to maneuver. The reason the boat would never be knocked down or not in normal winds is because as the boat goes over, the sail area presented to the wind, if you imagine, it tips over, and if you just think about what the wind's pressing on, the further over it goes, the less wind affects it. And so it's never really going to get to horizontal, because then the wind wouldn't be affecting it at all. So it'll spill wind over the top of the sails, basically, as it tips over until it stops tipping. It is possible for a boat to be tipped over in a storm just from inertia and stuff, but there's a giant lead keel on a wing below this boat that goes down about 7 feet. It's called a keel, and it is a counterbalance, and it keeps the boat from tipping over. So it does heel. It's normal to heel. It's very scary if you don't know what's happening. If you're an old sailor like me, it's quite exciting to have a good heel going on. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of an update mid-sail here. Once I clear Point Vincent, I think I'm beyond the halfway point. I think I'm at the halfway point right now, so to Marina Del Rey, and I'll check in as we round this point. All right, well, it looks like I'm easily going to clear the point there. I'm about a half a mile from shore. I haven't had to change anything. The wind just hurls towards the shore as you get close to it. It's an effect. It's actually caused by the friction of the land on the wind. You can see on a map how it makes sense. But anyway, the wind starts to point directly at the shore as you get close to it. That means I can go a little further up, and I got exactly where I hoped I was going to get. I got this guy in front of me. I'm overtaking him. Which means that when we get really close, it's my job to get out of his way, which won't be too hard. But I'm going to come off and change course to go directly to Marina Del Rey and trim for that in a few minutes. Once I'm completely past the point, and I don't have to concern myself with it at all. This is Los Angeles in the background. Behind Point Vincent. Marina Del Rey is over there somewhere. I think that's it right there. And I'll change course to that as soon as I'm completely around the point here. So I'm going past this I'm going past this buoy, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it is dinging like a bell. That's because there's a bell in it. As it rocks in the waves, the bell just flops around and makes bell noises, and you can hear it in the fog and dark. It's kind of brilliant. And there's some lazy seals on it. So we're on a beam reach now. We've turned the corner from San Vicente, and we're in the Los Angeles basin, headed towards Marina Del Rey. Windex showing that we're on a beam reach. The wind is just coming directly over the port side. I had intended to ease up a bit, slow down, take it easy, let it warm up. The wind is cold. You can see I've got pretty good flow across my front sheet. sheet, but I decided to tighten up and race because this guy here is on the same tack I'm on, which means he's going the same place I'm going. And the guest slips at Marina Del Rey are first come, first serve. So I'm going to have to beat him just to make sure I get, I get a slip. If his boat's a little smaller, he could probably go anywhere, but these guest docks are the only place in MDR that I'm going to easily fit. So I don't want to pull up to his boat already being there, and that means this is a race, and that means I'm going to have to win. As you can see, we're really moving now. The wake is a good indicator of your speed. We're doing about 8 knots under sail, which is excellent for this boat. And as you can see, I am pulling ahead of this guy who has figured out what I'm up to and has really tightened up his trim as well. So it's pretty funny. But unfortunately, I've got some natural advantages. The size of the boat, bigger boats are faster with the bottom line. And there's nothing he's really going to be able to do to pull ahead at this point. Yeah, so I'm quite far ahead of this guy now, much farther than I should be, because I've seen him make a couple of trimming errors, which tells me that he doesn't really race. I'm not a great racer. My best performance in like 10 years of racing is mid-pack, and my usual performance is last quartile, right? You know, 14th out of 18, stuff like that. But even the worst racer is going to be better than the best cruiser, because you just know how your boat performs. He's got his boat trimmed pretty correctly for the wind. It's a beam reach for him too, and I can see he's got his jib and his main both set for it. On this boat, we don't use the main sheet, really, the mainsail you don't set it optimally to the wind. You actually pull it in as tight as you can so that you get more heel, because you want the boat pushed over and more of the hull out of the water. So you trim the jib more and you sheet in the main sheet, which is kind of the opposite of what you would do for a lot of boats. It's just how this boat happens to work because of this particular geometry. And that's the sort of thing you only know if you've lost a lot of races. Alright, we're on the approach to Marina Del Rey. I can see the rock wall, the quay wall there. Shortly I'll start the engine and take the sails down and go into the marina. This is Corona. Not Corona, Corona Del Mar. I don't know what it's called. Corona Del Mar. This is LAX right here. It's got all these streets from some weird neighborhood that was planned and never built because people don't want to live at flight time. We'll pass those oil tankers over there. My sailing buddy is back there. He's got nothing to worry about there. I called ahead and they said they got plenty of guest slips, so he'll be fine. Anyway, the swells are quite a bit higher than they've been, which is kind of typical in the afternoon. The wind usually gets big around 3 in San Diego anyway.